One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. With the screw ups and we're back for more. More guests and topics to explore. Screw up slash. Welcome back to the S.U.S podcast.
Well, I mean, there were several times that I thought that I realized that I was pretty good at writing, but I never really loved it at that point. Like I can imagine in like grade five, or at least like when I was in grade school or something, right? Like I guess that's where it began to grow a little more. But when I really started to love it was um around grade like when I was in high school, like beginning of high school. Um, because that's basically what I did the whole entire time. I mean, like I come from a back. I mean, like my background, like when it came to writing, is that I don't exactly read a lot, or at least like I don't read a lot of books, but rather I just consume different forms of media. Like I like getting inspired by other forms of media,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know, like movies, video games, or TV shows or whatnot, or comics even. And I guess at that point and at my life, like I wanted to explore that a little more, or at least like just to really get things going. Like I remember specifically that in the beginning of high school, like I just randomly started to write about like a very short story. Like it was just a normal, regular short story that like about like I don't know, like it was about teen angst and stuff, those kinds of things. Like it was a bit of a romance kind of short story because teen angst during
Wow
those times.
naman.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I remember, yeah, specifically during that time. And then like I was thinking like midway through writing, like what if I want to take a spin at it? Like I want to just like change it up a bit. So like I just slightly altered it. Like what if it's about superheroes instead or whatever? Or at least like what if it's like superpowers? Or at least I started to throw in different like weird elements into it. And then I just realized at that point, like this is kind of cool. Like initially what started out as like a
Nice.
just a cheesy preteen or teenager like romance story became like whatever the hell it was. I mean, by the end, like through the process of
Yeah.
writing, like I start to love that idea of like just like um it growing to be a lot more than what it was. Like you start off with an idea and then along the road with different experiences, like when I'm starting to consume like a lot more media, like when I'm getting more exposed to different things, like start to grow to something even bigger or better. Or I would say back then it would be better, but like looking back at it now, dude, ugh, God, like looking back at that story is horrible. I'm never gonna share what that one was about, but like I'm just saying, like it's fit for its time because it's written by a
Yeah.
13-year-old kid,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'd rather
Puberty.
ignore stuff like that. But yeah, puberty, right? It's basically a product of puberty, which is something. Ugh, cringy super cringy to look back on, man. But yeah, I mean, I think that was the moment that I started to really like see it as like a passion of mine, like one of the things I want to pursue later on in the future.
I'm super curious. What's like the earliest recollection that you have of writing something? Like like when you were a little kid, even if you wrote something for class or like for fun.
Oh yeah,
And like how did it make you feel like when you finished and you actually looked at your work? Like did you share it with others? Did you like keep it to yourself?
Yeah.
Like how did you feel?
The earliest moment that I realized that like, or at least like, like, oh shit, I'm actually good at this, or at least like, oh shit, like, it's actually pretty cool. It was around like grade five. Like there was a homework that we were supposed to do about the Phil-Am War, the Philippine American War, right? And basically, we were supposed to do like this creative output. Like our teacher basically said that like, yeah, it was like one of those final projects, and basically said that like we're giving you guys a choice of like doing whatever, or at least like each student has to do a different kind of like creative thing, and then there are different categories, and I was given or at least like I was assigned I had to write a short story. And I was like, oh shit, okay, I don't know what a short story, or at least I never written a short story before, so let's let's try it out.
Yeah.
And like just writing through the whole entire process, like, or it's like, getting in that mindset, or it's like just beginning to write. Like, I didn't realize like how fun it was, or it's like, it was a little. I was a little unaware. It's not exactly entirely in the moment. Like, I didn't know that it was super good, or what I thought was super good, or but was like, but yeah, writing through it, it just for me, like just with the whole entire writing process, I was just going through it. Like I just like in my creative process, I was just like visualizing everything and stuff, like just putting it in the paper, at least like just doing whatever, like just throwing whatever's in there, like just writing about like facts about the war, and then like I had to. It was basically a short story about like I had to write about the perspective of the soldier.
Wow.
I
Like
can
a
already tell
Filipino
that's gonna be
soldier.
pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then like and then like when I submitted it to my teacher, she was like, "Oh shit, you did a good job." Well, she didn't say shit, but like, because like it's a fifth grader, but
Oh,
like
yeah.
she was like, "Oh wow, so you did a pretty good job with this." Like, and I was like, "Oh shit, I didn't realize that." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And then like, I don't know, I felt satisfied with that. Or he's like, I never really expected the approval of my teacher, but then like she gave me approval, and I was like, "Oh, hey, thanks." And then I guess like later on, like she talked to me a little about it, and she basically said like, like she was asking me like, is this something you want to do and stuff? And then like, she was a little encouraging about like the fact that I wanted to write, or at least like about my writing skill. And I was like, I never realized it that way. Like maybe I could improve later on. Who knows? And then later on, like around high school, that's when it started, or at least like when it really started, like my passion, my true passion for it, my growing passion rather.
Like immersing yourself into writing at such an early age. Usually, we would all be like focusing on like, playing games or doing anything else other than writing. Because at that age, normally kids would find writing or even reading like boring and whatnot, but for you to be able to like immerse yourself into it and find your love for it, and then it just continues to grow as you grow older. That's
Yeah.
that's really solid, man.
Honestly, for me, like, I mean, like, if it's like a school work thing, like I'm like demanded to write that, and like I really have to like push myself to like really do so. Because like in context, like for me, I'm like one of the laziest writers, or at least like I think really long in like making a like if I'm not motivated by anything, or it's like if there's a lot of time, like I really like take time to do so, because like I feel like if like I'm writing for fun, or at least like I'm writing for something, passion, right? I feel like the best way for me to really like immerse myself in like the whole entire writing process is like even before writing itself, it's just like experience, like just having experience, or just having experiences, like just experience myself in everything and anything, to like really get ideas, to expose myself to a lot of like influences and ideas. So like what I do, for example, like what I remember I used to do before the pandemic was like after school, or just like with any excuse, like I just like had any excuse to go out, I go out, like just to the mall, or just like just to the park or anything, and just walk. And then at the same time I listen to music, and then just ideas like just pop it, like any idea that pops into my head. I have like notes on my phone. I just type down like a sentence or something, or just even an idea, to like really like not necessarily organize it just yet, but rather that's when I get home, or at least like to reflect on like whatever ideas I had. That's when I start to like kind of piece it together, like whatever I was going through, whatever I was thinking about. And then like out of that, I could like make a story. Like for example, like I could start writing a short story, or at least like, because like also I also like writing poetry as well, writing poetry and songs. So that's something else that like also like really comes to mind as well. Like yeah, in the process of like listening to music and like going out as well, like just certain lines that rhyme or something that just come to be, and to like put in my phone, and I just throw it in for like just to say like or at least like just to keep it in, so I could use later on. and then I try to integrate all of those things together, like just to piece together like something, whatever comes out of the synthesis, or at least like of whatever of all those ideas, and if it's interesting, that's when I start writing something. Because I feel like I have the tendency to be a little hectic when it comes to like formulating ideas, but like this is one way that like I really like try to like go into something more and more. That's at least in the beginning of like writing, but like in the writing process, but like in writing itself, like I feel it's a never-ending thing to like
Yeah.
get more ideas and stuff. Like I can never have like a concrete plan that just stays like that the whole entire time. Like let's say like we're working on an outline and stuff. Like I feel that like the initial outline, or these like the backbone of everything, or these like it's the foundation of like a building that you're gonna construct. But rather than like having like like it's not necessarily a concrete plan like where everything's gonna go, but rather it's just the foundation for everything to build from that. Like you could follow what is suggested, but like if it goes elsewhere and it seems better that way, or at least like if it feels like if there are more ideas that are coming to you, even though yeah, more ideas that are coming to you, like you could steer, not necessarily steer to that, but if it feels right or if it makes a lot more sense to me, like for me, then that's what I'll do instead. Or at least that's how I like try to really, yeah, how my plans are with things. Well, this is kind of weird to say because like from my background, like or at least like from where I come from, like I actually don't read that much. Like I actually don't like reading at all.
Dude, I get
You
you.
know,
I
it's
like
really
writing.
weird
I
to
don't like
say.
reading. It's really
Yeah,
weird,
yeah.
no?
Yeah, like I don't like I don't know like if there's someone here who's watching, who's gonna watch this and like is you know like a creative writer and then loves reading as well, and then they it might be a little blasphemous for me to say this. I don't know if it will be, but like yeah, for me, yeah, I don't read as much because like I have a really bad, like just to share, like I have a really bad habit. Like I mean I finished some books and stuff like, but that's rare. But like I have a really bad habit of like going into a book and I just read the first chapter and I'm like, oh, that's nice, I'll read it tomorrow. And then a month passes and I'm like, where's that, what book was I reading again? Basically I just stop. Like after that I don't read I don't read it anymore. Like I forget to read it, and it's just a hassle. Like just to get back into it and like just go diving into something like that. Like for me, that's not where I come from, not what I do, but rather like, I mean, there are some literary works that I do like that I actually did read. Um, I mean, like I read around like a few novels with like Neil Gaiman when I was growing up.
Oh.
So
Nice.
that was, I mean, that's a bit of an inspiration to like how things would go wild because like with Neil Gaiman's books, they're pretty wild. Or it's like, you know, they can get wild too, like with the fantasy aspect. So that's pretty cool as well.
Sandman.
Yeah, I mean Sandman, yeah, Sandman as well. I mean I haven't fully read Sandman, like the comics or the graphic novels, that is.
Good
Like
Omens.
everything.
I love that book.
Oh, that's a good show. I haven't watched that yet, but I know it's a really good
Oh.
show.
No, I was talking about the book
Like
though.
I'm
See.
sure the book is good as well.
It is, man.
okay.
It's pretty good.
This is the reader here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
I'm
about
the-
to say like I'm pretty sure the book's good as well, but because I never read it, but like
It's fine, but
Yeah.
if you get the time, you should. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
good. It's like comedy.
honestly though, but like okay, yeah. I mean like with some narrative aspects, like there's not really as many coming to mind, sorry, but like in terms of like narratives, but like because I really grew up on more of like um reading graphic novels or reading, or at least not even reading as much, or at least like rather I get my influences from other medias like TV and movies, video games and whatnot, and like
Same.
and yeah, videos from YouTube or something. Videos on YouTube helped a lot, like for me, because like it's bad. This is bad as well. I mean, like I'm pretty sure like there's I mean, like most creative writers do different because I feel like yeah, I feel like that this is not what they do, but like what I do instead, like is I just watch and like yeah, I just watch like book summaries or these book analysis on on YouTube, or not necessarily just book
Mhm.
analysis, or rather just like authors talking about their works. Like for example, George R. R. Martin, like how he talked about like how his writing process, for example, or just like the world building of that. And that's what I really like about like yeah, YouTube itself. Like it gave a lot of more opportunities for me to like really like dive into a lot of like lore stuff. Because like my background is like I like fantasy a lot. I like writing about fantasy. That's something that I want to one of the big things that I want to do among others. But like what really immerses me in like the world narrative worlds of like for example Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings or something, or even from video games, other like video games and movies is like they talk about the lore videos like that really like give life to the world itself.
Yeah,
And then
that's such a
yeah, and like how it has parallels with history because I really love history as well. Like like that's a topic that I or at least like that I really fond of like in school, and just like seeing the parallels from that, like how you could make stories out of that, like and also like narratives that come from history as well. That's really cool, and I feel like that's how there's so much like in terms of writing, there's so much potential that you could make out of that, like getting inspired from those things as well. So yeah, like from other like TVs and movies, like about like history or these like stuff inspired by those, or at least like just anything, like even like from Marvel movies or something, like or Star Wars, especially Star Wars as well. Like those are like medias that I really feel inspired by as well, and the
yeah.
creators behind them. Like even though like George Lucas, I'd say like for my opinion, he's a little controversial and stuff like when it comes to some things, but like when he creates a world, or at least like when he created the story, especially the original stories of Star Wars, like that's something that I'm inspired by a lot to do, or at least like a lot to like think about, or at least it's really cool. Like if you see like the lore of like how he created like how he was inspired by like the hero's journey and all that, and like how to make these trilogies of like and how he was inspired by like history and then religious cultures as well to
Yeah.
create the world of Star Wars. Like that's something that's really cool that maybe one day like I'd want to do as well, or at least like I'm super inspired by, and that I feel like that's where I get my influences from, or at least that's where I get my inspirations of writing from. I mean, based on my experience so far, because like I'm far away from an expert writer, or but you said what I can say right now that I can contribute, like anybody else who wants to aspire for this, is that just experience a lot of stuff, like get exposed, like get addicted to being exposed and gathering ideas, and like just go out there. Not right now during the pandemic, but just like wear a mask if you're gonna go out. Okay, get exposed in the sense of like exposing yourself to ideas,
Yeah.
like to like don't be restricted by any form or anything. Just completely go out there. How from my experience, I never imagined myself to be a writer in any sorts because I hated reading. Or at least like I hated like reading books and stuff. So I'm like, what if I just realized later on that like, oh, what if I just make those books? I don't have to read it. I'll just write it instead and stuff. I'll make my own world or do it, whatever. And
That's so
yeah,
true.
Make your own
you know,
world with blackjack and and street workers.
exactly. Just like do whatever, like I'll make my own thing out of that. And
Yeah.
whatever comes out of that, like, the reason why I was so inspired to do that, or at least is because like I was maybe it's because of like my background, or at least like, maybe because like what I grew to, like all the things that like inspired me, let them inspire you in a way. Like, or not the things that I was inspired by, but let the things that you were inspired by to do whatever to translate into this. Or at least, all those ideas, all those whatever, all those things, it'll come together somehow. And whatever you can piece together, whatever that is, it'll be great. Maybe not be great later on, but you're gonna grow to it.
Because I'm an amateur writer too, right? So I'm not I'm not a professional anything. I'm not a writing student. I do it for fun also, like you. I do it because like I'm passionate about it. But it's really validating to see, like, from like not even from a friend's perspective, but from another writer's perspective, how similar the writing process is. Because like it really shows that, you know, this is like the right path that each writer really goes through, even if it's at their own pace or like in their own like way. Like even from that starting point of like literally just being inspired by music while looking at something outside, you get an idea, boom, you write a note down
Yeah.
in your phone so you don't forget it. You go home, you start writing an outline, and then you're like, oh, I have this piece pala. Where can I put this, diba? And then like what you said about like having the characters grow into their roles instead of like, I mean, I'm for sure like you want to do justice to every single like character that you write about, and you want to give them like the fullest potential that they can, but at the same time you got to keep it grounded and realistic also, so that, you know, the audience doesn't lose like their support or their love for this character. And you got to just give them that natural flow, and you will feel it as you go along writing their story. Like it's not something you need to super duper detail plan out from beginning to end, because like also what you
Yeah.
said, stuff's gonna change along the way. You might decide that this plot point's better than this one, and then like it will completely change your plan, but you got to stick with it because you have that
Yeah.
gut feel that, you know,
Exactly what we
that's
were
really
doing
what it's
yesterday.
supposed to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
we just
That we were
like,
what we were planning.
free balling ideas and stuff like
Yeah.
left
See
and
where
right,
it went.
diba?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a validating and like educational thing for me as another like amateur writer to see like this kind of level of passion for me. So thank you for teaching me all of this.
I'm also glad that I'm not alone in being an amateur writer in that sense as well.
Of
But
course,
yeah.
man, we stick together for sure.
Yeah, we got to stick together. I don't know if we're rare because like I don't know anybody else who's also a creative writer or that many people.
If it helps, me and Ramon can be creative readers.
Oh,
Yeah, boy.
okay.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
I don't know
Fist
what it
bump
means.
pencil.
Fist bump. I don't know what it means, man. But we're gonna read.
They'll read
your
it
work.
without any grain of salt. They're just gonna
Alright.
read it as is, and they'll be like,
Yeah, dude,
Not
this
just
is
grain
good.
of salt, man. We're gonna read it without any brains at all, dude.
let's see what happens. Like let's
Yeah,
let's
let's
give
see.
them something and then like
Yeah,
let's see what
let's
happens
go
to
crazy.
everything.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gonna be magnificent. I can tell.
1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks for tuning in to more Screw Up.